All right, we're talking with Army veteran Wayne Altman from Melody Cloud. So, Wayne, you got some phenomenal things to talk about, like over a dozen online businesses, success in the entrepreneurial world. But before we get to talking about all that, take us back and tell us what you did in the Army.
Well, hey, Joe, thanks for having me. So when I was right out of high school, I went to cooking school for a couple of years.
Mm.
And at cooking school, I had a lot of real fat chefs sweating in my food, and it was not a good time. Okay. I was like, look, my food doesn't taste good because you're sweating in it. So, and they were screaming at me all the time. And I go, where can I go? Where can I go that I'm not going to get yelled at? And, people are going to treat me decently. And I decided, hey, let's go in the Army. Okay. Yeah. That was my answer to cooking school. I was a 71 Lima, but the reason I did that, administrative specialist, and the reason I did that was because there were so many subspecialties that you could go to in that position. Mm-hmm. And I eventually became information security. Mm-hmm. So I went to information security school in West Berlin. I was on top of the wall the night the wall fell down. I was on top of the wall that night.
Awesome.
I loved being in the Army. I loved every single minute of being in the Army. It was awesome.
Yeah. Wow. What a historical event that was.
Oh my God. It was a massive party in 2 seconds. It was nothing. And then all of a sudden it was 17,000 people climbing over one another. And yeah, it was that story is one of my best stories. One of the stories I love to tell the most, but
yeah. And so how long did you end up being in the Army?
8.5 years. Yeah. 8.5 years. I got, it was funny. I joined the Army on Thanksgiving Day. Uh-huh. Thanksgiving Day, my parents are in the kitchen. They're cooking Thanksgiving meal. I had told them previously, hey, I joined the Army and I leave on Thursday. They must not have listened to me or taken me very seriously because there's a knock at the door and my recruiting staff sergeant was standing at the door waiting to take me to the MEP station and for me to fly out, take me to the hotel. And my parents were like shocked. They were totally shocked that I had, an overnight bag packed. I got that. I was walking out the door. My dad's like, well, what about Thanksgiving dinner? And the staff sergeant goes, yeah, we can't wait. We're out of here. And so I left, went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina that night. And it started, like I said, I basic training for me was like Gomer Pyle. You've watched Gomer Pyle, right?
Oh, yeah.
My drill instructors thought that I was Gomer Pyle. I was having too much fun. And they made it their mission to just, ruin my day.
Yeah.
But they were unable to do that.
And so as you got out of the Army, was it planned, or it was like, hey, boom, I'm out tomorrow and off and running? And as consequently, what was that transition out of the Army like for you?
So at the time I was in Germany and I was having the time of my life. I was riding the rodeo, the European Rodeo Association. I had picked up bull riding. I was roping. I was doing all the things that I did at home. I was in Germany, seriously having the time of my life. I attended University of Mannheim. I went to transferred to the University of Heidelberg. I was taking international business courses in German. I mean, look, dude, no one had a better time than yours truly.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton got elected president.
Uh-huh.
I was driving for our colonel. He later became a general, major general. Bob Neighbors, greatest guy, man. Awesome dude. Mm-hmm. And Bill Clinton got elected president. And I went, uh-oh. And immediately the atmosphere in the Army changed. We started becoming, especially where we were, you could start to feel there was a different atmosphere, completely different atmosphere with a Democratic president. And that's just fact. Take it politically however you want. I don't care. That is the truth. Mm-hmm. And so my colonel, we were driving to Stuttgart one day and he pulled me aside in the car. He pulled me aside. He said, hey, look, he goes, your MOS, you need to get the hell out of here. You need to go become an officer. That was the intention when I got out. I was going to go right back in the Bear program and become an officer and have a military career. Mm-hmm. That was the plan. And we could get into more why that never happened, but so I applied. They gave me a $35,000 check to get out of the Army. Huh. 35 grand to get out of the Army. Dude, you don't ask a 22, 23-year-old dude to do something for 20 grand. Believe me, buddy, it gets done.
Yeah. 35 grand is like, that'll last forever when you're 22, right?
Of course. And here's something else that's hilarious. So I go to out process back at South Carolina, back at Fort Jackson. They hand me the check. I'm walking out. I see my sister-in-law. My younger brother was at Fort Bragg, and she had driven down to pick me up, and we were going to spend some time together, and then I was going to fly home. All right. I'm walking out of the building with a check in my hand, and another Sergeant First Class says, "Hey, Sergeant Altman, come here for a second. You going back to Houston?" And I go, "Yeah, that's the plan." He goes, "There's an information security school on Old Spanish Trail. We want you to go back, come in the reserves. It's a reserve unit. Come in the reserves and teach this course." And I'm like, "Look, I just got out." He goes, $1,700 bonus if you do it. I went, "Wait, you just gave, come on. Look, I'll do anything for money. I mean, whatever.
Pay me to get out, pay me to come back in."
The lady at the desk that gave me the first check looks up, does a double take because I'm standing right in front of her again to get another check. And she was like, "Wait, I had to get a supervisor." She couldn't believe that quick I gotten 2 checks out of the Army.
That's awesome. All right, well, hold that thought. We're going to take a break. Be right back. All right, back talk with Army veteran Wayne Altman from Melody Clouds. So, Wayne, you're headed back to Houston. You got a check to get off active duty. You got a check to join the reserves. You go back to Texas, join the reserve unit, and then what happened from there? Eventually, what started happening with you on the civilian side?
So what happened was I went to college, Sam Houston State University, joined the ROTC program, and I was teaching Wednesday nights. I was teaching at this reserve school. Mm-hmm. Well, the commander of the reserve school needed me to be there at a certain time, but I had lab at the ROTC at the same time. Uh-huh. Now, you would figure that 2 units in the same military would be able to work out an arrangement of where I could be and still fulfill both, but not the U.S. Army. It just didn't work out. And so finally I had to say, "Hey, look, my education is important to me. And I did this as extra money." And so I got released from the reserves. And my dream of staying in the military as an officer pretty much ended at that point. And I had to go into civilian life, transition,
Yeah. Now, where did this entrepreneurship thing come from? Did you jump in entrepreneurship right away, or did you just start with regular jobs?
So I went into the mortgage business, and I was learning. I started a mortgage company called Midway Mortgage in Conroe, Texas, where I was from. And the loan officers that I had, they could not read a credit report. They would bring me all kinds of really bad applications, and I got frustrated, Joe. I got really frustrated that these guys couldn't tell me or couldn't bring me people that could buy steam off a hot dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote my first book, and that book was called Credit 101, and it taught loan officers, this is how you read a credit report so you can better judge whether or not they're a customer. Mm-hmm. That caused me to write my second book, because once they knew, they brought me all kinds of really great customers, but then these guys started putting those customers all into the same loan. The only thing they knew was a 30-year fixed. Uh-huh. So I wrote Mortgage 101, teaching them the different types of mortgages. Yeah. Neither of those, and it's hilarious because I spent $10,000 publishing the first book. I spent $8,000 publishing the second book, and I didn't make a dime on either one of those 2 books, man. I lost my butt on both of those 2 books. Yeah. It wasn't until my third book When Bad Credit Happens to Good People, which is available on Amazon, by the way. So if any of your, if anyone listening, needs a really great book on consumer credit, that's when I wrote that book, and we made a very good. The return on that book was incredible, way better than I have ever hoped.
Yeah, I think I've actually heard of that one. Believe it or not.
I have people stop me to this day. This is several years ago. I have people stop me in hotels occasionally and say, you wrote When Bad Credit Happens to Good People.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no kidding. I was just chatting with a friend of mine, on LinkedIn, and he's frustrated because these military friendly institutions look like they don't give loans to these young enlisted kids, but they give them more readily to officers. And he's irritated that their officers are being treated too nice and the enlisted guys are treated bad. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with what their rank is, dude. It has to do with their credit. I mean, it's 100%, 99% credit, It's like, well, it's easier to have good credit when you make more money. I'm like, well, it is, but trust me, I've made more money and had bad credit. So
I was just going to say, you listen, credit is a pretty good microcosm of your character. Okay. Yeah. We always say, when I was in the mortgage business, we always say that there are 3 C's to credit: collateral, character, and capacity. And so how you hit it right on the head. Those officers have a greater capacity for debt. Doesn't say a damn thing about their character, though, because everybody that's ever been anywhere near the military knows that character is in an individual.
Yep.
And then collateral, that's whatever you're lending or borrowing the money for. So, there you go. Those are the 3 things people need to keep in mind. If they've got all 3 of those things squared away, this country is the only country to this day, the only country that does not take race, sex, sexual orientation. None of those things matter. We're the only country. There are countries very near to us that will not give you a loan without the right last name. You don't have the right last name, you ain't getting a dime.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So talk a little bit about, after the mortgage company, you started getting into some other businesses. Like, you're out of the mortgage business completely now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Because what happened was, when the mortgage collapse happened in 2005 through 2008,
yeah,
I became very famous for calling that and for calling people out on why that happened. Right. And I realized that, talking about character, I fancy myself as someone that has some, and I could not do what it was going to take to be profitable, be successful in the mortgage business. I refuse to put people into a loan that isn't going to suit their needs. And if it's going to suit my needs, that's one thing, but does it suit their need? And too many people around me were putting, too many people around me were putting people into 4 payment option loans that did horrendous detriment to their customer, but it put some money in their pocket. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went into search engine optimization, and I learned from writing the books.
Yeah.
I've written 6 books.
Wow.
So that has provided a pretty fair income in and of itself.
Nice. That's awesome. Because previous guests were talking about, a lot of times you don't write a book to try to make money off the book. You write a book to become an authority in that space.
That's 100%. That is 100% correct. I never wrote a book because I was an expert in a subject. I wrote the book to become an expert in the subject. And if you do that, in my experience, if you do that, you will become an expert in that subject. And if you pick the right subject and write it well, then the financial rewards will definitely follow.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to become an expert at something is be able to teach it to somebody else. So
yeah. And gathering all the research that you need to write that book, that I would submit to you, that is a very good way of attaining that knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. So search engine optimization has led you into a number of other businesses over the years, a lot of online stuff. we were talking a little bit before we hit the record button. Some of the businesses maybe we're not going to discuss in too much detail here on the podcast, but you know a lot about search engine optimization, websites, internet traffic. Like what can you talk to about just the volume and the amount of money flowing online these days?
It's crazy that when you see and look what's available to the individual. I'm an analytics. I got fascinated by Google Analytics, and that's really what led from one business to the next business to the next, is refining web traffic and trying to figure out, suss out who my customers are. Mm-hmm. And I do classes. People will contact me. I've been very successful, or pretty successful, at being able to identify my customer, no matter if it's a survival site or a bedding or a kitchen. I do a lot of when COVID happened, I was working at a luggage company, handling that, their e-commerce for them. And they decided to keep the PPP money and not pass it along to their and lay everybody off, their employees. So I had to come home and I built a survival store. I built a golf, not really golf clubs and apparel, but more training aids. And each one of these things taught me a little bit more about, and that's kind of what led to Melody Clouds.
Cool. Well, since you mentioned Melody Clouds, where'd the idea, the concept from Melody Clouds come from? I know you initially you struggled with a little bit of tinnitus yourself, and you discovered that listening to certain types of music was helping that.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I was in the 8th Engineer Battalion, okay, and we did a lot of blowing up bridges and a lot of building bridges, and there was a lot of we'd go in the field, and so I developed a raging case of tinnitus or tinnitus. Okay. And most of the people that are listening to this, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that got out of the military that do not have that ringing in their ear, follow them everywhere that they go.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine stepped up and said, "Hey, I want you to listen to something." So I went over and he played for me a track of music, and all I heard was some woo-woo nonsense. Okay. Yeah. Second track of music, more woo-woo, and really didn't do anything for me. But the third gave me something I hadn't had in 30 years, and that's silence. I did not hear that ringing at all. And to this day, I still listen to that all the time. And I've discovered other tracks that do other things as well. We're using Melody Clouds is partnered with some veterans organizations. We help treat PTSD. There's a lot of things that can be treated with binaural beats and with solfeggio frequencies. And we are just now on the precipice, man. It's very, very, very exciting because it works. It's crazy how it works.
And the binaural beats and solfeggio sounds, are they just overpowering your tinnitus, or
no?
How is it work?
So this is what's cool. This is really what's cool. So your brain is an electrical appliance. Your thoughts, your emotions, everything is an electrical impulse, and those impulses are at specific frequencies. Now, look, they did a lot of study about this in the 70s, 80s, and all up to now. There's a ton of research that's been done about this. So basically what it is a binaural beat has one frequency going in one ear, one frequency going in the other ear. Your brain is then forced to split the difference because it doesn't take those two frequencies. It will make its own frequency to split the difference between those two. That changes your mood. It can change your perception of things. It can knock you. I had a really bad problem with mind racing when I would go to bed. Yeah. I would lay in bed and I would have a dozen different thoughts going through my head. I always have irons in the fire. I'm always, moving, I'm shaking, I'm trying to do things. I have a track of music that I can play I've only heard 15 seconds of it, because that music starts and I go into the deepest sleep, man. It is crazy. So it is a physical thing that takes place. We have tracks of music on Melody Clouds that can block grief.
I've not heard of this concept, so I'm okay. I'm fascinated. Keep going.
Well, you know what? You do. Everyone knows that when they get in their car, one of the first buttons they press is the radio.
Sure.
Okay. Or if you go into a church, you and I could walk into a church and without saying a word to one another, that organ music is playing. We become reverential. Our voice is lower. We don't have to, no one has to be told to lower your voice in a church like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's you and I, we agree on that. But go across the street to a Black Baptist church singing praise music at the top of their lungs. Okay. Mm-hmm. You and I can walk in that room and immediately feel our hands raise above our head. We will match the tone and tenor of every single person in that room.
Yeah.
You cannot help but feel uplifted by that music.
Uh-huh.
Same thing with banjo music. I have never met anyone in my life that can be sad when a banjo is played. Now, why is that? Look, it's funny to mention, try it. I'm being dead serious. There is something about those frequencies of that music. Or let me give you a better example. You know, there's 17 movies that do not have a soundtrack. Even silent films were not silent. They had a pianist at the front playing the piano, mm-hmm. guiding you through the images on the screen, Joe.
Yeah, true.
They were showing you this is how you're supposed to feel about the images that we have presented to you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the movie Wall-E?
Yeah.
Okay. Wall-E, an hour and 40 minutes into that movie, the first word of dialogue is spoken.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Quest for Fire from like 1980.
Okay, there you go.
Not a word of English.
But better than that. Okay, now imagine you have taken 4 and 5-year-old kids, plopped them in the middle of a living room or the middle of a movie theater. You have shown them images on the screen and you have kept them dead silent for an hour and 40 minutes. And you've done it through the power of those images, certainly, but the music that tells them, be happy here, be sad here. Oh, this was funny. And that music is what told them each one of those cues.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see it like in scary movies. You know, when something scary is about to happen, boom, the music starts coming on. You know, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's all.
Oh yeah, this is about to happen. Or if you go on YouTube right now, there are several of our favorite horror films set to like Leave It to Beaver soundtrack. Okay. And it becomes hysterical.
Really?
You don't feel the slightest bit of fear. Even though those images are going on in front of you, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, while you're watching or listening to Leave It to Beaver soundtrack, it doesn't bother anyone at all. Now, so that should look, when you go to the gym, you do not bring Tchaikovsky. You do not bring Taylor Swift.
Right.
You bring AC/DC, Iron Maiden. You want to get a workout, that's what you play.
Yeah. So is the music on Melody Clouds on the platform, is it sort of advertised as, if you want to go to sleep, listen to this. If you want to yeah,
we have frequencies.
Mood, listen to this. It's placed off like what it's gonna how it's gonna make you feel.
What my goal was to collect different frequencies, different music that would serve certain purposes. And my binaural beats section on Melody Clouds does exactly that. You can scroll through 8,000 hours of music and pick that. And look, by the way, you know what really convinced me that this was a real thing and not some woo-woo nonsense that I slipped into?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that those first 2 tracks of music didn't work for me. The fact that those 2 tracks of music did not work told me that when the third did, This is exactly like medication from my doctor. Because if I go to the doctor and he prescribes something and that medicine didn't work as intended, what does he do?
Try something else.
That's right.
Yeah.
That little blue pill, believe it or not, does not work the same way in everybody. Okay. I don't know what it does to some people, but I'm telling you that there are other things that you can try and other things we do try. And my suggestion to you is, if you give Melody Clouds a try, take a listen to some of the tracks. You will find the music that does have that effect for you. If you don't, it's $2.99. If $5.99, you have 60 days, $5.99 a month. Okay, I'm happy to give you your money back. It's really no sweat.
Yeah. Is most of this computer-based type music or instrument, or is it have everything?
You mean synthesized? Yeah, there is some synthesized music, but there's all kinds of music on Melody Clouds. We have 18,000 audiobooks. So all of the classic audiobooks, the art. I have hand curated all of the images on Melody Clouds, and it is stunning. The art that's on Melody Clouds. We have lullabies. We cut our lullabies into 5-hour tracks. So when you put a baby down in a crib, the first skill we learn as a human being is how to self-soothe, how to get ourselves back to sleep. That's the first skill.
Yeah.
So we cut them in 5-hour tracks. So new parents put their baby down. The baby goes to sleep. If it wakes up, when it wakes up in the middle of the night, it realizes, okay, same music is playing. I'm in the same atmosphere I was before. I'm warm, I'm safe, I'm dry, boom, and right back to sleep. And it takes very little time to train a child, a baby like that, to self-soothe. Saving parents. I get more letters about my focus, helping people, maintain a good hard focus, and that, than anything else.
Yeah.
Parents writing me going, look, we were pulling our hair out. We tried everything, white noise, all this stuff. We put the lullabies on, and our kid within days learned how to self-soothe. No problem.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you take a minute or two to talk about how, like, the business aspects of Melody Clouds? Like, how'd you start it? What's it like building that platform?
Yeah.
Pulling all that stuff in, marketing, that kind of things.
So, I'd had other experiences, but I had no experience that I've had with Melody Clouds. So when I make a decision to do something, I do it right away. Within 24 hours of that binaural beat helping me with my tinnitus, I had purchased the domain Melody Clouds. I formed an LLC. My wife was like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are all these charges? I mean, she monitors that stuff like everybody else, And I said, look, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to call it Melody Clouds. And this is it's a subscription-based music service, and it's going to help people. It's going to help a ton of people. And so I had to go find content. Every scrap of music that's on Melody Clouds, I own. The books, the audiobooks, I have rights to all of the 18,000 audiobooks that are on there. They are read by voice actors. They are, Aesop's Fables. You're familiar with Aesop's Fables?
Yes. How do I know that?
Okay. Aesop was a black slave. He taught Plato and Socrates. Okay.
Oh yeah.
The Fox and the Grapes, the Woman and Her Hen, all these very short stories that Aesop taught us when we were kids. You remember it from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Remember the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon?
Yeah.
Okay, so they inserted Aesop's Fables. These were lessons for small children to why we act the way we do. Okay. Well, I couldn't find it anywhere. It had gone. I have children. And I thought, you know what? I got to bring that back. Those were always really good stories to me. It taught people manners, and it taught people how to act.
Oh, yeah.
I got a very good friend of mine, Gary Meyer. He's a disc jockey in Chicago for 50 years. He's in the Radio Hall of Fame under Marconi. Okay. It's Marconi Gary Meyer. He reads all these stories and he does it with a voice that just brings that story to life.
Yeah.
Fox and the Grapes, the lion, or the donkey and the lion skin. These are stories that people need to know. Okay. They need to remember these stories. So I put those on there. But so it's a process of building and putting together a vision, figuring out this is the direction I want to go. How can I overcome this? How can there's a roadblock. I don't have any music. I want to build a music catalog. Where do I get music?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my case, with the binaural beats, I had people make it for me. I have artists on my platform right now that created music majors, that created their own music. And then I was able to integrate that, purchased from them, and I integrated that into Melody Clouds.
Really?
A lot of it is licensed music that's, older, but a lot of it is brand new. People have never even heard before.
Uh-huh. How many people are using the platform?
So right now we have 4,800 total subscribers.
Awesome.
Paying wise, we're at like 2,600 at $5.99. I mean, you can do a little bit of math. You see where that goes at 10,000 subscribers.
And
at 100,000 subscribers.
How long has it been launched?
We launched the website in November, but then tragedy struck, and the group that I hired, and I paid $40,000 to have this built, decided one day that they were not going to pay their employees. And one of those employees defaced the platform. And the company didn't want to admit that that's what happened. So they took the files. Listen, Joe, in the last 2 months, I rebuilt like a phoenix from the ashes this platform. Wow. And I really am encouraging everybody, just go check it out, because it is way better than it was, in November. People are really, they've been very kind. They've been very kind. I had the FBI call me because of the company that I worked with before.
Yeah.
They wanted to know exactly, what they had told me and all that. Yeah. You're going to have stumbling blocks, dude.
So you built it all up, spent a bunch of money. The whole thing came crumbling down, and you
right around my ears,
rebuilt it all over again. and in a few months, you've been able to acquire that many users and members.
Yeah. Well, here's what happened. Most of the people that had subscribed before, they never left me. And to those people, I want to tell them every time I get an opportunity, thank you. Thank you for trusting that I was going to actually rebuild this and make it even better. They know how much I appreciate it, because I did give them a better product at the end of the day. But look, and I realize that I'm not asking a whole lot of money to begin with. I mean, $6, won't even buy you a Starbucks coffee. Yeah. But it's not no money. Okay. It's not no money. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that people appreciate about Melody Clouds the most, and you can go on Apple and you can go on Google and you can test me. No information. I take no information from my customers. Your name, your email address. Okay. Not only that, but while you're using Melody Clouds, it blocks third parties from accessing your information on your phone.
Nice.
So, there are people that are very sensitive about their personal information and not wanting to just hand that out to people.
Yeah. Well, how do we find Melody Clouds if we want to check it out?
So melodyclouds.com, that would be the place to go. The downloads for the iOS and Android are free to subscribers. They're free to everybody, but in order to enjoy what's inside, you're going to need to subscribe. We're doing a $2.99 60-day trial. So $2.99 for 60 days. that gives you the $3, man. $3 gives you the opportunity to take a look and see if it's for you. If it's not, go to the profile page, because the largest button on Melody Clouds is the unsubscribe button. It's red, it's there. All you got to do is press it. I promise you it will unsubscribe your ass very quickly.
Good on you, man. Yeah, I still got one subscription. I can't figure out how to cancel the damn thing.
I hate that. And I'm telling everyone within the sound of my voice that will never, ever, ever, as long as I own Melody Clouds, two things will not happen. The price will not go up, and you will always be able to find the unsubscribe button and divorce me. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm the easiest person to divorce on the planet.
Well, Wayne, we're out of time at this point. Actually went over a little bit, but I do want to give you the last chance. So if you're talking to one of your fellow veterans out there on their way out of the military, some looking to get into entrepreneurship, run their own business, like what kind of advice comes to mind?
Well, number one, perseverance, and every single one of you that's listening to this has that. You were, that was given to you. Mm-hmm. And I would say that, look, we need to look after one another. If there's a fellow vet, and I encourage, if you're a veteran, I am encouraging you to contact me. Okay. We need to look out for one another, because there's no one else that's going to do it. It's obvious that this government is not interested in, reaching out and doing what needs to be done for the people that have served this country. Yep. I said it. I'm happy to, I will go to Washington and say it, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm disgusted by how we are treated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that, Joe, maybe you didn't want to hear that, but look, man, I'm going to call it like I see it.
I hear you. I know.
So anyone that needs anything or advice or whatever, my door is open to you. Wayne Altman at Melody Clouds. That's how you get in touch with me. And yeah, but stick with it. Get an idea, put together an idea, and just move forward. That's what you know how to do. Just keep going forward.
Awesome. Sage words of advice, Wayne. So thanks for sharing your entrepreneurial success story, and look forward to seeing your future success, especially with Melody Clouds.
Joe, thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.